Hello, hello. Welcome to this edition of the Law Firm Blueprint. I'm one of your hosts, Jay Ruane, founder of the Criminal Mastermind, and with me, as always, is my man down today in the BluShark headquarters. It's my man, Seth Price. Seth, how you doing?
Things are good. Things are good. Came off the road, home for a little bit. Then got vacation with my dad coming up for his 90th. So
Nice.
very, very excited.
Yeah, I was on the road last week. I was in Philly for a DUI conference. It was good to see some of the old folks. I mean, I started growing up with these people when I was in my late 20s. Now we're all in our 50s and 60s. And it's good to see the inspiration, these young lawyers out there learning so much and really getting aggressive, some great presentations. It was fantastic. I was on the road for 2 days. I can't imagine going living the life of Seth
Mine are
Price.
usually 3 days. I usually 3 days my over under. I did an extra day on the way back from MTMP to see Mario Godoy and walk the floor at Tech Show just to see what was new.
Oh, well, that's good. Maybe we can talk about that. I'm sure at Tech Show there was a lot of talk about AI.
There was a lot of vendors selling AI for sure. Yes.
And that's the thing. Like I was at my little DUI conference of 120 people, and everyone was asking about AI. I actually did a presentation to my Criminal Mastermind group that was there about some AI tools that we're using ourselves. But tell me what you saw in Tech Show about AI, and let's talk about the impact of AI on local search, because I think there's some things there that we need to talk about.
I think what I saw at Tech Show was, a lot of the guys were coming out of the gate, not all of it ready for prime time, not all of it fully integrating. And I think that's and we'll discuss this later in the show about what is cost effective, what moves the needle versus what we're sort of like, it's cool and we know we need to use AI, but where should we be prioritizing that? I think is what everybody is struggling with, at least in my world. But what I sort of found fascinating on the marketing side, spending day at BluShark today, was that, we've seen people lose search traffic because of AI, seeing some of the Gemini results, seeing the AI results. And as an SEO, you're always chasing where those are coming from. And you feel when your clients show you that they come up in the AI results, I think whether or not they make a buck from it or not, they don't care, but they're just so excited to be in there. But what's fascinating, and we've talked about this on the show a bit, is local search, getting in the 3-pack, always been important. And we've had sort of fun debate a couple of years back or a couple of months back, talking about reviews and is that the new links? How much of a currency is reviews carrying? But it's fascinating. I almost see that with AI and AI search coming in some form or fashion, that people are still going to Google for their money searches, and that when they're looking to buy, that the reviews have become that trust point and at the local interface, and it brings so much energy into it. You see Google cracking down on bad reviews. We talked a little bit about that glitch before. And again, as you know from what I said before, I saw the glitch not just as a glitch, but as a precursor. They are identifying where dubious reviews are because they see how valuable that interface was.
Yeah.
Had Yelp gotten its act together, which it didn't, it could have been the review platform of choice. Google remained the victor in that space. And so when it comes to B2C choice of lawyer, that interface has become, and they're making it more robust with user-generated content, the ability to put like different keywords in there. All this different cool stuff is happening every day. But that as we watch the uncertainty of AI, at least for the moment, the local interface seems to be where Google is doubling down and saying, hey, we want to monetize it. We want a good user experience. AI gives you all different types of answers. This is still where you go to buy, at least for the foreseeable future.
So let me ask you then. I mean, as somebody who sits inside a large law firm, you're not Skadden Arps, but you're pretty large in terms of people in the B2C space. You're not in the B2B space. So you're probably one of the larger firms in that space. And then you're also with BluShark with, hundreds of employees. Where are you seeing the best return for investments and not just saying the monetary investment into AI, but I'm talking about the time investment, the knowledge investment to get the most out of it.
Yeah.
Like where, I mean, everyone's saying, oh, AI is going to replace everybody and we're all going to get universal basic income and just be able to relax. But I don't think that's really necessarily in my lifetime. So where should I be starting? If I were to start today, I'm already started.
Well, right. You already said, look, I think it's whatever you see, right? So the question is, I have a problem, or I think there's an efficiency, or I have something I want. Great. My point with the on the marketing side is if you can bring AI hypothetically, to engage more with clients, make them happier, get the positive reviews at the end, use it as part of that process. What I'm saying is the local interface is where it's at. I know that I'll get to your, but I think it's a piece of it, which is you should be using AI in one of two places, wherever you need your, whatever is mission critical. If you're setting your quarterly rocks and your rock is to improve your Google business profile presence, can AI help you get there? So one is there. And the second, I would argue, is where can it make the most impact? Where is the biggest delta? So if demands are your thing and there are plenty of products on the market, great. If it's scaling, you can only get so many great pre-litigation paralegals on the PI side. If this allows each of them to have 20 or 30 more clients without giving up quality, God bless. So I think with each piece, it's looking at what is real. And I'm starting to crowdsource some truisms, which is for the first 6 months, it's not like you're going to sit there saying, I need less people. And it may, in that I'm also hearing a lot of euphemisms, like it's not going to save people, but each person can add more capacity. Well, you're kind of saying two sides, which is okay. So if you want to stay the same, it means you need less people. If you want to grow, you could keep your team and grow with that team up into a much more significant point and maybe continue to spiral as AI gets better.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I'll share with the audience one of the things that we've had great success with in the criminal space is that we would like to do full backgrounds of all of our clients, but there was just a time crunch, right? We had a small window in which we could actually do the stuff to make meaningful impact on a case, and we were at a point where if a case was going to wind up getting worked out for a dismissal anyway, you may not want to put in the person hours to try to accomplish something that might take a couple hours for a paralegal to sit down or a lawyer to sit down with the client and get their full history. We've been able to take a long questionnaire, send it to clients, then get that questionnaire into AI to write a personal narrative in a mitigation report, and we're turning these things around within 10 minutes of them coming in to the office, and we're taking them to court. And my lawyers are just getting fantastic results because they can personalize their clients so much better than other lawyers in the same situation. So we really stand out. And I'm wondering, as some of these tools exist, um, I wonder if other lawyers are going to pick up on it, or they're just going to be lazy and not, and that gives us sort of a decided advantage in scaling, because we can say, we used to say that we're the only law firm that's really pushing the envelope with AI in defense work. Now we could say we're the only law firm locally that's doing these mitigation reports, and we're 100% tariff free. I'm trying to look for all the different things that I can
Yeah,
do to
look, I
put
think
my face.
given the old school nature, particularly the DUI bar, I think you have a bit of a head start. You always have, and you
Yes.
always will. So I'm not sure that AI is the selling point to the public personally, because they aren't. In fact, I think it's almost a negative if you say it's an AI generated report. Personally, my own perception that what you want to do is talk about what you're getting, whether it's AI or not, who cares? But the fact that you're doing this mitigation report when other people aren't, and then
Right.
like you want to share, I'm not telling you to be nefarious, you want to share how it is, but to you, you're excited about that it's AI. To me, I'm excited that you're doing it. And AI is just a tool to get there.
Right, right. Oh, I agree with you. It is a tool, but it's a tool that we're running full speed into it to try to make our lives easier, and it's really working for us. And now I want to take it to the next level. I want to make it a phone call to the client with a deeper dive on the interview, and have an AI agent do that. And I think that this is all something that can really make us better at our job, better at representing our clients. They may not necessarily put another dollar in my pocket, but we're really going to be able to level up our legal services, and I think that speaks to our desire for being the best in the business in my area.
Right, and I think
So
that's what
that's
we're dancing around on the SEO side. We're integrating AI into the content as a tool. We don't want to anger the Google gods and the Google algorithm with AI spewed content, but what can you do that's going to give a better user experience? How can you use that? Look, hopefully the days of that you're able to match tone. I spent Friday with Michael McCready, who loves the idea on closing arguments of being able to use a Clarence Darrow or some other person's tone in a closing. And I think that with time, one of the issues in the bane of an SEO company's existence is this is not the tone of our firm. That means a lot. You may tweak it. People forget. The idea that you could theoretically teach that or read a website, understand what somebody wants, and be able to replicate it, to me, that's amazing.
I mean, that's enormous because it cuts down all of those back and forths. No, it's not right. No, it's not right. Okay, this is closer, but it's acceptable. It gets you right to the
I'm
heart.
still convinced that the honorary lawyers, if we had it, literally, I always joke that if Dave wrote it himself, he hates all web content. If Dave wrote the content himself, he'd still rip it apart. That
So,
nothing, yeah.
so do you see a situation where the content itself can be drafted with the proper prompt about tone and the right seating and the right,
Getting there at the
imagery?
moment, the technology is giving you stuff that is distinguishable and not, it's kind of repetitive. It sounds great when you're doing a speech or a thank you note because you don't care if it's plagiarized. But if you're going to be doing stuff that's replicated over and over again, I mean, in your case, Connecticut DUI or Connecticut criminal, and you have all these counties, it's the same nonsense for each of them. You're trying to
Right.
make it somehow different. And that's where some of the stuff that sounds great is really just the old spinning. If you're old enough to have been in the when we used to spin content so it wasn't duplicate content.
Right.
I kind of feel like we're almost spinning content in a 2.0 sort of way. That said, it's getting there, and every ounce of R&D research that I have internally is going towards that because it is getting there, and it's looking at what is cost effective. I think the market is pushing for that. And if we don't do that, we're not going to be competitive.
So, so our okay. So my my elementary view of it is that you've got ChatGPT, which is like the Google. It's or Xerox, Kleenex, whatever. It's becoming ubiquitous for AI as the brand name. But then you've got Grok and you've got Claude. Are you seeing that there's better use cases per AI tool? Like, hey, like ChatGPT's content is good, but it's not as good as Grok's. And and Claude can get you, for local SEO. Claude can reference local streets in the content it creates, where ChatGPT won't even go there. Are there better tools that
I
you're
think that
finding? Because I'll
right
tell
now,
you, for me, my mitigation report, it looks like crap coming out of ChatGPT, but coming out of Claude, it looks phenomenal.
right. I think you're seeing different companies leapfrog each other at different points.
Yeah.
And it depends what they're focused on. Right. And so I think it's, to me, we've been experimenting with, multiple layers, sifting through to see whether
Ah,
that can get to it. So from one to the next to the next. It's the money laundering version of content. Again, it's tough. We want to do no harm to our clients. We don't want to be putting regurgitated stuff out there, but it is where every ounce of my R&D is going right now, is figuring out how to get the best cost effective yet not harmful content.
well, you bring up a good point, and this is not something that we talked about in advance, but most businesses have a line item for research and development, right? Obviously, BluShark does, but should a law firm have that?
Absolutely.
Obviously, and what percentage of their budget should go into that? Because
That's a
if you
hard,
don't
right.
have it, you're never going to use it. And is it like, oh, I'm going to buy licenses to three different AI tools and try to figure them out? Is it I'm going to bring in a college student to try to work on specific projects for me? Is it 1% of my budget? Is it a tenth of a percentage point?
That's a
What do you
really
think that
good.
it should be?
I had not thought of it that way. For BluShark, I definitely have it's a thing. Law firms almost less so because you can buy a lot of stuff off the shelf. That
Right.
said, just knowing what it is, I set rocks for several quarters and got nowhere till I hired a person whose sole job it was to evaluate the AI and help us pick and implement. And we went from a couple of requests, not really, to people being engaged saying, hey, I really want a solution for this, to the point where we're like, may have to expand that department because there's been enough enough demand on it. So I think historically the R&D sort of came from a you and me going to conferences, listening to
Right.
people. But today with technology, there's another piece that as firms evolve, and whether it's an international person for a smaller firm or a domestic person for a larger firm, having somebody in-house to manage, implement, and expand upon case management systems. And the idea that it used to be, hey, I paid for the system and it worked or didn't work. I think Filevine threw its hands up and said, you know what, we're out of this game. Hire third-party companies to build it out and develop it. Salesforce has always been like that.
Right.
And I think even if it's something as basic as Clio or something in the middle like a Smart Advocate, it's one thing to buy a product, but it's another to have somebody internally who's thinking about how to improve it, listening to the internal constituents, how they're using it, where their problems are. And if you don't do that, you're definitely leaving resources on the table. Now, if you're solo, you may not have the resources for it. Get it. But
Right.
it's listening to these conversations, figuring out what's there. And given the good news about being smaller is it's less licenses. And so when you want to do stuff, but there's stuff that I've seen, some of the case management, which is integrated AI, has been pretty good. And some of it's been kind of a throwaway just to check the box and say they're doing it. Now, they'll get there, but I'm definitely seeing, software saying, hey, we want to sell an additional add-on, and without thinking about how great it or bad it, how good or bad it really is.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the products I see out there are literally just saying now with AI, but they're not actually doing anything. They're just plugging in an LLM that you can ask, some stuff to. We're actually looking at trying to see if we could take DeepSeek, and we actually went out onto Upwork and hired somebody to review the code of DeepSeek because we want to make sure that there's nothing internal that's shipping the data out to another platform or another provider, because you can download DeepSeek, which is that low cost, low bandwidth Chinese product that was supposed to be better than ChatGPT. But if someone doesn't um, evaluate the code, and there's a back door to let somebody into your code,
Yeah,
we can't we
I just tell you, I'm
can't
not
tie that
going
into
there.
my
Like,
database.
I'll wait for ChatGPT and Gemini to catch up. I'm good.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. We spent a little bit of money having somebody evaluated for us. We haven't gotten our results yet. I'm curious as to see if there
I
is.
love your curiosity. I love it. I've never been a big believer in building the software unless you want to go all in and make it your, for
Well, I
profit.
mean, you don't forget, Seth. I'm old. We wanted this. I wanted the software before this software existed, and so we went out and found a database engineer who could do it.
Right.
And now I'm 19 years into it, and I'm like, it would cost me $100,000 a year in license fees if I were to bring in and give everybody access to something, but I don't have to do that because I have my own software. So
Right. I'll land the
it's
plane
just
with
I
this.
was I was too old.
I got you. What I'm seeing, I'll sort of try to land the plane as we get out of this episode. But one of the things that I sort of hear a lot of talk about, right? And I think that the idea that as AI evolves, and you see these companies coming into AI, a lot of them in the PI space. Although at Tech Show, there's literally every vertical has an AI play now. The thing that if I were to prognosticate, is are we going to get to a point where the AI jumps over the case management system? Now, there are companies out there that have raised really large sums of money that may figure it out, but that the AI is what's going to be dominant, and that the case management's the easy part. That's the keeping your matters in a spreadsheet essentially, but that as AI evolves, that there's possibly going to be a moment where the AI component leapfrogs what we think of as traditional case management today.
Yeah, I wonder what's going to be the interface. If it's literally going to be you just dump all of your stuff into a folder, and then the AI can figure out what's the next court date, that what did somebody say, or do you have to have some structure in a file tree for it to be? I mean,
Or will they have that? I mean, take Foundation AI, which is basically sorts your mail for you. Are
right.
they heading in that direction? If you look at the Eve Supios of this world, are they when you have your entire case matter from again, I'm using PI as the example, no different than what could be done in criminal. Look, the criminal's easier. There's less stuff going on. If you look for years, I'll tell the story for those of you small out there. For years, we found a guy at the DUI show a gazillion years ago called Defender Data. I loved it. It was $40 for unlimited licenses for my case management software. And it was designed for a public defender, so it was very cost effective. And it was pretty rudimentary, but it did the job. It had our people, their dates of birth, their information, dump everything in it. And I still remember we got to like 40 licenses. And the guy called, said, I got to talk to you. Got to raise the price. It was like $80 a month. I'm like, sold for everything. It was like a couple dollars a user, and then eventually moved on to real case management software, and it was expensive. It is
Yeah.
expensive. But I also, at some level, don't love paying money for. But I don't love paying money for anything. But I do love the fact that it's a closed loop. It's there. It provides data. We make decisions, and I think that those companies right now. I saw just Jack Newton at Tech Show, right? He's got a company that's the bell of the market. They're doing 35% growth year over year for $1 billion company. It's pretty cool. And the idea that, to me, they probably are in a position where they can invest in that AI development. And to me, that's what I'm excited about is if the guys with resources throw it at it, it's going to be freaking awesome. Because the thing that I don't want, what I hope we don't have, and you alluded to this towards the beginning of the show, is you have to have one piece of AI software and then separate case management software. What we really want is a fully integrated world, and
Right.
I think it's coming pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, we're really only about what, like 18 months into this AI revolution, and to see what we can accomplish now. I mean, I gotta tell you, for talking to a guy who's into SEO, I kind of have stopped going to Google, and I'll go to, like, I had a question about, I didn't understand this is a little off topic, but I was like, how is it possible that the universe is expanding? What's it expanding into? If I didn't really understand how the universe was still
I know
expanding.
where you're going. So look, and so
So
say
I said, "Hey, ChatGPT," and
so.
I talked to ChatGPT on my ride home from work today, and or the other day, and now I understand what they mean by the universe is continually expanding.
Right. And for me, because I'm a Google guy, I use Gemini. But that is exactly why we're seeing less traffic. Some guy has a website on that topic, and they may be pulling the stuff from that website, right? I mean,
Right,
but they're not really getting the attribution credit, so their numbers go down. However, if you said, "Hey, given that I want to buy insurance so that when it overexpands and I'm being facetious. I'm just trying to say,
right,
but when you're going to buy at the moment, it feels like people aren't using that yet. Now, like the world's, you're watching about social selling. I'm hearing a lot about. There are things that are happening every day. They're building and growing. But it goes back to my first point on the show, sort of land the plane with that, which is for now, you still want that human touch point, and those reviews combined with the authority of the website, combined with the Google business profile, almost like Google Plus finally found its landing pad, and that now we're at the point where Google is using this as its beachhead to say, great, we're going to give you AI answers through Gemini. You want to go ChatGPT, great. But this is the differentiator that ChatGPT can't give you
right. It's because it really can't. It really can't.
for
That,
now.
that for now. I mean, we'll see what
And then they're
happens.
going
I
to
mean,
crowdsource a bunch of them. But if
yeah,
they're crowdsourcing review sites you don't care about, it won't be nearly as powerful or trustworthy.
yeah. I wonder if Yelp is going to get bought by one of these AI platforms to integrate all of that user information that it could have that Google already has natively. Just
Right.
that,
Or,
that
or, or they'll just scrape it and not have to pay them.
well, that too. But I mean, that
Yeah,
was one of the big negatives for Yelp for so long, is that they kept pushing you to sign in to get any information, and that's why I hate Yelp. I'm like, I don't want to have to go through 3 steps when I can get it in one. And I think the other thing about that too is it's impacting the consumer, because I don't know if your people have seen it, but my people sure have. Um, we're getting clients calling in or emailing in questions clearly drafted. by an AI tool about their case. Like they're going in and acting and saying, act as a lawyer. Tell me why I should file a motion to suppress. My biggest challenge is getting the data in for it to evaluate it, because at least for us, handwritten statements and police reports aren't the best for OCR. So that's where our struggle is right
Well,
now.
it's not how long before those things are a thing of the past. There'd be voice dictated.
I mean, think about it. We did, 2 months ago, you couldn't get a picture out of ChatGPT with five fingers on a hand, and now they have very photorealistic graphic design. So, I mean, it's astounding how
It was
quickly it's
amazing how in the last show you had those AI generated glasses, those big glasses, and now they're not there.
my Morty Seinfeld
By
glass.
the way, I got to tell you, I got more feedback on your glasses than any other topic we've had on the show in recent memory.
All right, well, I'm going to have to break. It's funny. I was out at a comedy show this weekend with my son, and one of the opening comics had those glasses on, and I'm sitting in the audience, and he points at me, and I point at him, and he tips his glasses to me, and I saw him at the meet and greet afterward. He was like, "Dude, I never see glasses like that, but you can't miss that out in the audience." I'm like, "Hey, it's who I am now. I'm the glasses guy."
That's awesome.
It's fun. My junior I gotta see which Junior Sopranos glasses next. Those were the Morty Seinfeld ones, but it works. All right, Seth, I think that's gonna do it for us today. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? Because I
No,
noticed you're wearing that Washington Commanders
well, let's
shirt.
talk about the next episode. Let's talk about sports sponsorships. It's been a lot of fun.
All right, cool. That sounds like a plan. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us this week on the Law Firm Blueprint. Of course, you can take us anywhere you want to go by subscribing to the Law Firm Blueprint podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to give us a 5-star review when you do that. Of course, if you want to catch us live, you can do it live on LinkedIn, 3 p.m. Thursdays, 12 p.m. Pacific, as well as live in our Facebook group, the Law Firm Blueprint. But for me, I'm Jay Ruane, and he is Seth Price. That is our show. Thank you for being with us. Bye for now.